What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris, and today I'm going to show you all 5 great locations to return to for interesting and unique combat in Far Cry 6. These are in no particular order, but instead are chosen based on 3 factors. Number 1 being the location itself, how it handles and kind of benefits your combat. 2 being the set pieces we can find in the location for set piece farming, earning us new recruits, pesos, and spray cans along the way. And lastly is the enemy spawns and how many enemies you'll find at each spot at a given moment. Now again, this list is in no particular order, but we'll be leaving my personal favorite location for last today. So let's get started!
Hey, gracias.
For our first location, we're coming on off to Isla Santorio at the Vivero Nueve Plantation. We have an insurgency going on right now, and that spices up traveling across the island quite a bit, but this location has stayed relatively the same throughout the insurgency. It's a good spot for farming recruits, and most plantations will have either prisoner or interrogation set pieces you can take advantage of. This location's really nice to farm from because it gives you a lot of variety with 2 interior locations that you can head through as you farm recruits in potentially the very early stages of the game. I do believe that you need to unlock your first actual camp before you can start unlocking recruits, but I might be wrong on that. It's been a long time since I played the early game. In order to get set pieces to respawn, you don't need to head very far from a location, but the general distance is about the same distance that you would head through to kind of run around and then go through the Vivero Plantation main building, and then come back to this kind of dilapidated dump area. While you loot through the location, you sometimes will get the set piece and you sometimes won't, and that applies to all of the set pieces that we're going to talk about throughout this video for each location. As well, farming recruits might not be super useful to you in the late stages of the game. If not, check out the description down below for timestamps for farming resources as well as farming spray cans. You want to make sure that you head to kind of the far side of the plantation just to make sure that you're putting a decent amount of distance between you and the set piece spawn location, but as you loop through, you'll kind of gradually get to know how far you have to head away from a set piece in order to get it to respawn. The next spot we're coming off to is over in El Este, just near Val de Oro. And the spot that we're coming to is Mckay Drill Site A. This is actually a location I've talked about in a previous video in regards to the Mckay vehicles. But this location is also an excellent location for getting back into fights and also farming a bunch of recruits if you ever need them en masse. The nice thing about this location is that it's a relatively small area that you can farm recruits in very quickly. Now, recruits cap out at 999, so you might hit that cap pretty quickly when you're farming recruits, but still, it's a nice thing to have. Hey, what the frick, dude? Just trying to make a video. Come on. Just trying to make a video. Just trying to make a video here. The thing is about this location is that there aren't a ton of enemy spawns, but you do have a specific spawn here that really reliably will give you a special forces unit, which means that you could practice against the kind of individual special forces units and kind of devise some strategies and tactics for them. So right now we have the flamethrower unit, just like what we had before, and they use a flamethrower as well as an assault rifle with incendiary rounds, but you can also find a sniper here as well as just a typical assaulter. It's actually pretty rare to find Special Forces units on their own without other Special Forces units spawned in near them, especially ones that are in a passive state. So this is actually a really unique set piece that you could take advantage of. Sadly, you will have to kill the one plain soldier that will be spawned in near the Special Forces, and so you'll automatically aggro the Special Forces no matter what, but still, it's pretty rare to find a scenario where there's only one soldier there for you to deal with. In the next location that we'll talk about, there's going to also be a spot for just one Special Forces soldier. But the difference is this one spawns really, really reliably, whereas that one does not. As well, the loop here, as I'm showing off, is just a very short loop. You run up the hill past the little bit of nasty-ass water, and then you go down to the drill site, and sometimes you'll find soldiers with recruits near the crane, and sometimes you'll find soldiers with recruits down near the main office building. Now, because there are two prisoner set-piece locations in such close proximity here, you can run through this loop really quickly and basically get infinite recruits. Hopefully, at some point, maybe recruits will be expanded on in the future Far Cry 6, then maybe this will serve some better purpose in the future. But if you're in the early game and you want to max out your recruits really quickly, you can hit up this spot and do it in like 10-20 minutes. The next location we're going to be coming off to is Esperanza Port off in Val de Oro. Now, the sweet thing about Esperanza Port is there are 4 resource spawn locations in very close proximity. 2 gasolina spawn locations, as well as 2 metal spawn locations. The 2 gasolina spawn locations will have a soldier guarding the gasolina can, and the 2 metal spawn locations will be further on outside of the port with basically a bunch of soldiers loading metal onto a truck. Now, again, set-piece farming is based on RNG, so these guys won't spawn every single time, but as long as you're looping through the location and you're just kind of running through it and then running outside of it and then running through it and running outside of it, you'll re-trigger the chances of spawning these set pieces over and over, and you'll be able to farm them pretty much infinitely. And in terms of this location based on its combat, you also get a lot of interesting combat scenarios here because it's a port. So you get all of these shipping containers that you can fight from and kind of clamber over and use for drop assassinations, as well as the crane hanging out over the water that has a grappling hook point, and you can use this crane to snipe from or take down helicopters or whatever you want to do. Alright, so for the second last location, we're coming off to Esperanza, and Esperanza's both easy and difficult to find good locations for this kind of video, because you get a lot of great combat locations, but you don't get very many good set-piece farming locations across this region of the map. So what I've done instead is I've found a great area for you to come to that's really interesting for farming vehicles, so that way you can acquire rank score and upgrade your rank level. And on top of it being a great spot to farm your rank level off of vehicles, it's also just a really scenic location with an interesting set piece in the middle that you could take advantage of for unique combat. There are 2 mortars that are emplaced around this location that you can use for pretty much just free experience until they run out of ammunition. As this spot's a major intersection of both traffic spawns coming out of Esperanza and traffic spawns going into Esperanza, you get a lot of potential spawns, as well as a couple tank set-piece spawns that happen right in front of the mortar that is facing away from Esperanza, which just is like begging to be exploded. In the center, you have a whole bunch of these strange pillars sticking up, and a number of them are too steep to climb, but you can use a bunch of them that have a kind of like lower angle to them to use as vantage points to launch rockets from or snipe enemies from. A lot of times if you get enemies aggroed on you though, you kind of have to bail out from these spots. And even though it's not entirely reliable, there are a number of Libertad prisoner set pieces around the location, so you can also farm recruits if need be.
Thanks.
All in all, you get great views, infinite experience, as well as a lot of fun locations to engage with enemies for combat. There's even an interior section in here that you can use kind of strategically if you're getting surrounded by special forces. Now, the next location we're coming to is the southern portion of Jose's Villas Island. This southern portion gives you two great opportunities for farming duffel bags, which will be your kind of primary source of obtaining spray cans out in the open world in a farmable scale. Having multiple set-piece locations with these duffel bags, usually guarded by maybe 1 or 2 soldiers, you'll be able to get spray cans and pesos from these bags. The pesos don't really matter too much, but the farmable spray cans definitely matter, especially if you want to gather all the skins in the game. There are 2 main spots that you want to farm these duffel bags from. The first one is this jetty sticking out just over by the lighthouse, and the second is the little resort area that you can find just along the way. They're both in rather close proximity to each other, so you can run back and forth between the 2 spots really quickly in order to check whether or not the set piece has spawned properly. The position of the duffel bag set piece that will spawn over by the resort kind of varies in its location, so you want to do a pretty clean sweep of the resort area. It's a small area though, so running through it doesn't take longer than like 5-10 seconds.
Officer, have to be careful.
Whether or not you'll get spray cans from the duffel bag is based on RNG, so having 2 locations that you can get the duffel bag from just doubles your odds of kind of dealing with that RNG in order to get as many spray cans as possible. You can also find Libertad prisoners being escorted around this area as well, so you can farm them from this location. And even though spawns were toned down in the latest update for Far Cry 6, it still is a really excellent area to go to for combat. There are tons of enemy spawns around this area, and hitting your wanted level happens pretty dang quickly in this spot. And in just a short amount of time, you'll be able to start burning through all the skins you need to unlock. Now, it does take a lot of spray paint cans in order to unlock all the skins, so you'll need to do quite a bit of grinding, but in the future, I plan on putting out more videos of locations that will have spray paint can farmable set pieces. Here's hoping I can find a location with more than 1, or more than 2 set spawn locations. And even though it's a pretty rare spawn, you can actually find a guard protecting some gasolina at the end of this port. So it's rare, but you can get some extra gasolina along the way. So there you go, my dudes. 5 great locations that you can go to for returning combat, farming recruits, farming resources, farming spray cans, pesos, rank, experience, you name it. This list has you covered. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If there are any things that you're looking for in specific, maybe sound off in the comments down below, and I'll maybe see if I could put together a video based around a specific thing in particular. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.